Did you have an opportunity to think about the question that I posed?
Please pose again the question.
Does that mean that you didn't think about it?
I requested that you pose again the question.
I understand what you requested, and I posed a question, and you were given an opportunity to think about your answer over the last 30 minutes.
Yes, and remember, Mr. Canavas had asked that a particular document be put before the witness,
Okay.
so if you look at the document, the list of persons,
Okay.
you tell him exactly the person you're talking about.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Okay. We're talking about the meeting with the individual. If you have your list of persons there, is number 2. Do you recall that? We're talking about that meeting on the evening that was unauthorized.
Yes,
Okay. You agree it was unauthorized. In fact, you admitted it yesterday.
yes,
And I do want to add one clarification. You said that they had requested. Isn't it a fact that they had ordered you not to meet? Not requested, but ordered?
I was advised not to meet him.
Well, I didn't ask whether you were advised. You were ordered. It's either a yes, I was ordered, no, I was not ordered, I was merely advised, or I don't recall.
I remember I was told not to meet him.
I beg your pardon?
I was told not to meet him.
You were told not to meet him. In other words, you were ordered not to meet him. I'm insisting on an answer. You said you were advised. There's a difference between being advised and being ordered. So which of the two? And I suggest that you were ordered.
Okay, yes.
Yes, what?
As you say, I was ordered.
Okay. And you stand by that. I don't want you to feel as if I'm putting words into your mouth or that I'm intimidating you to the point where you may need to seek protection from the court.
To me, to your answer, because I already gave several
Okay.
several answers now to the same question, I would like you or this court to understand that I was, when I asked if I can meet him on the same day, I was actually told not to meet him.
Okay, that's fine. Now, and I just want to get one point of clarification out of all of this. I had indicated that it wasn't until you met with the prosecution, I think it was sometime in November 2014 when you were proofed for the Ruto and Sang case, that's when that meeting first came to light and they questioned you about it. Is that right?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And prior to that, you had not mentioned to the investigators that you had that meeting.
I remember I had not mentioned.
Okay. You say you remembered. You remembered that during the break, or I just want a solid answer that you did not tell them at all until they brought it up.
What I know is that the investigators brought it up at a certain period that I had, there is a recording which I had not discussed about.
Right.
What I don't remember is the exact, it is the exact time. But,
Okay.
I remember surely that I had not spoken about this with the investigators until when they brought the matter.
Okay, all right, and we're going to get to that date. And I understand, to be fair with you, that yesterday and today, and I'm not contesting this, that you did in fact turn over the tapes that you had. You just failed to mention that meeting.
That is it.
Okay, all right. And you failed to mention that meeting, even though, at least as we indicated earlier, the investigators wanted you to have a tell-all that when they invited you in March 25th, 2014, they told you that that they wanted a tell-all interview with you, where, in other words, where you would tell it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, right?
Yes.
All right. And subsequent, you didn't tell them on that instance, during those days of interviewing, you didn't tell them about that meeting, right?
You just mentioned that we discussed about the meeting.
You discussed the meeting when you had a proofing session. This would be in November 2014. Here we are in March. And what I'm suggesting is you had plenty of opportunities to mention that, and it just sort of slipped your mind. It wasn't on the radar.
I didn't understand completely what you're asking, because we just concluded that the investigators at a certain point brought up this issue of the parts recording, and I explained about the recording.
Okay. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but based on what we have, based on what we've read, the first time it's brought up, and it's brought up by the prosecutor himself, we have it on video during the proofing session, is during that period. It's in November. In other words, they say, hey, we just uncovered that you had this meeting. They had no clue. They were clueless. Now, how that slipped, through their fingers, we can blame them for not looking at all the tapes. But the bottom line, as you said yesterday, the next day when you had the meeting that was supposed to take place, okay, you said 3 times you met with the investigators on that day. You spoke to them, and thereafter you never mentioned it. And you indicated yesterday that because you folks were in a hurry, there was too many things going on, and you couldn't find the time to say, oh, by the way, I met with this person last night, even though you told me not to.
Yes, I have indicated, or I have said that I did not inform the investigators immediately about the meeting. However, I handed over all the recordings of my conversation with the person number 2.
Okay. All right, now let's go back. All right, we'll skip this. We'll get to that at some other point. I just wanted to make sure that to get your understanding. I wanted your understanding of what tell-all means. Tell-all to me means you have to tell it all. But this was something that just slipped. Is that right?
Tell-all means that I should not. I tell them everything that I know.
All right.
That is the meaning of tell-all, the way I understood it.
Now, let me go on with this same what happened on that same date on 20. We're still on the document, and now I'm going to skip through some parts, and we're going to go to 0135 0051. Same document, tab 30, just a couple pages later. Then you're told again, this is line 367. I would like to interview you, but in a formal interview, a full and frank interview with you about your involvement, and so on. Recall that?
Which line are you reading?
I'm reading at 367. Actually. It would be like I would like to interview you. So they want a formal interview. They're informing you. A formal interview where they're going to record you, but first they're also going to advise you of your rights, right?
Yes.
And so you understood that at that point, because of the representations that they had made, that you were going to be treated as a suspect. That you were being treated as a suspect, right?
I didn't understand that.
Well, had they not brought it to your attention 11 days earlier when they said, we want to interview you formally and we want to tape record it? What part of that did you not understand?
At every time that I was interviewed by the investigators, it was at every time it was formal. There's no time that has been informal, including this time. It was formal, and therefore, to say this time was formal, I don't know whether you are saying other times that the investigators interviewed me was informal.
Okay, let me clarify that. Yesterday, it was brought to your attention that on previous occasions, when you had these conversations with them, you would sit down, there would be an exchange for days, hours, and then the investigators would produce a summary report of what was all said, what was shown to you, but there was no formal recording. So no one can look at those days and say, okay, this was the question posed, this was the answer given. Question, answer, question, answer. None of that. At the end, you were given a summary where you were to read it, make any corrections, initial it, right?
No, in most occasions there were recordings.
Okay, are you suggesting that there are recordings that the prosecution has that they haven't turned over to the defense? Because that's what you're suggesting right now.
All these matters that I gave in the previous case, because I remember most cases where I met with the investigators, they did this was not a fact recording that they did on me. There are many other instances where I met them and the same transcript, the paper that I signed were also recorded.
Okay, so let me make sure that I got this crystal clear. And you might be confusing with the word recording. So let me clarify it, and then maybe you can help me out here. On the previous occasions, that is before the 15th, before the telephone call on the 14th of March 2014, when you met with the OTP investigators, on those occasions, surely they were maybe typing things out and then sharing you the summary, and then you signing it and initialing the pages. That's different from tape recording where you have question, answer, the entire event. And let me just say one thing before you answer. We don't have any of such recordings transcribed prior to this particular date. So, could you be mistaken?
My Honor, I remember most of the occasions, even in the previous case, that when I was having my interviews with the investigators, at other occasions, they were having it recorded.
Okay. Now, if we look at the same page, 01350051, I don't want to belabor the point, and the prosecution is free to correct the record at any point. Line 366, it says, I would like to interview you, but in a formal interview, a full and frank interview. Okay, so they're mentioning formal interview. And they've already told you before that they're going to tape record you. Do you agree with that?
Yes, this is what they have said here
Okay.
in this conversation.
Okay, and what did you think that they meant by we're going to tape record you, we want a formal interview, we want to read you your rights, you have the right to have a lawyer, think about it, but we want the full truth. What was your understanding of what was expected of you?
My Honor, it was not my first interview. And at every other interview, those are the warnings you are given by the investigators when they are letting you to give them an evidence. And to me, they were these are the normal procedures of where investigators ask you to give the truth to know that you are committed, that you will sign the document, that at times it will be recorded. All these things are stipulated before you start giving your evidence.
Okay, but before they didn't suggest that you had the right to a lawyer to be present to advise you. This was the first time. It was first mentioned on the 14th of March during a telephone conversation because they told you if you come, you know, you have the right to a lawyer. And then they advised you again before they began the questioning, the formal interview, that by the way, you have a right to a lawyer. This was the first time, was it not?
Yes, I think it was the first time, including being searched, being standing up and being searched in the pockets if anything was happening. I was carrying something. That one was the first time. That's why I said I saw a big differences, including being searched. They had never gone to that extent where they were searching my pockets to search and to undergo searching. That is when I said I started to see some differences, and I was shocked and I was in fear.
Right. Okay. They didn't manhandle you when they were searching you. They weren't rough on you.
I didn't say they were rough.
Oh, I'm asking. They were not rough, were they?
They were.
Okay. They were gentle then.
Yeah, but it was the first time they did that.
Okay. And that sort of took you back. That sort of was unsettling for you.
That's why I saw that
Right.
things are different.
Things are different, right. Because you had already been warned 11 days earlier that they thought that you were a double player. Right. Sorry. Whatever. You had been warned earlier that you were a double player.
In the conversation we see.
Yeah, okay. Now, again, I want to go back to yesterday's testimony and today where you say you were so much in fear and so forth, and that's why the spontaneous story came out regarding your first meeting with Mr. Gicheru, where you named a particular individual, which is number 7. That number 7 is the person that took you. Okay, and we're going to get to that. All right, and you want to paint the picture, and you want Madam President to understand that that your judgment or your thinking capabilities were so clouded by fear that this spontaneous story came out. That's what you wanted us to get from you yesterday and today, right?
No. I wanted, for the purpose of record, I explained even to the investigators concerning this matter. And I said, by the time we were meeting with the investigators, I didn't imagine even that I would finish the meeting because of the situation that I was in with them, the way I said I saw them, the way I saw their body language and how they treated me on that day. I thought I will, if I'm not arrested, I will go back home. I never imagined that I was going to be in agreement with them in anything.
Okay.
So therefore, at first, I did not want to reveal this person, number 4, who actually introduced me to Mr. Gicheru.
We're going to get to that. But you mentioned the word arrest. I'm looking at this document here, and I don't see anywhere where they give the indication that they have any intention of arresting you.
It is not my testimony that they gave indication, but I'm saying
You felt that. You felt that.
I think that I felt that
Okay.
that could have happened.
And that feeling motivated you to, or inspired you to give that spontaneous story about who introduced you to Mr. Gicheru.
I think I was in fear, and two, I thought I will be going back home, and if I go back home and I have revealed the person who took me to your client, then I will be in danger.
Okay, but did you not go there because you wanted them to help you out? You wanted security?
But looking at them, I have explained several times that at that moment, I was not very sure that they will be giving me that security. And looking at the way they appeared to me.
So when they told you, when they were telling you, we're more concerned about the security issue and we want to help you, but you have to tell the truth, you didn't believe them. You thought that they were lying.
Before I settled down and I stopped being in fear, I was having my doubts on what they were telling me.
Having the doubts that they were actually being honest with you,
Yes, because
that they were being dishonest,
I thought things were very different.
that they had evil or pernicious motivations themselves. They were trying to trick you. Even though they were saying, we're not here to trick you, you thought they were trying to trick you.
I wanted to be sure that they were telling me.
Okay. Well, they do tell you something more, because we're going on. This is the same interview. If we look at line 3994, that is why I'm saying to you that you need to be open and accountable, and you need to be full and frank. There can't be any half. You can't be half right. You see that? You see that?
Yes, I see.
Okay. And then it goes on further down. If we look at, starting with line 403, this is an opportunity for you to hear what we have, and for you to effectively tell us. So they're telling you, we're going to tell you what we know about what you've been up to, but this is an opportunity for you to tell us as well, right? You see that?
Yes.
Did you understand it at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And
Message from the English booth. Could counsel please slow down and observe a pause between question and answers?
relocating.
Mr. Canavas, can you slow down,
Okay.
please, for the interpreters?
Apologies.
to
Apologies.
do the writing?
Apologies.
Thank you.
It's that Mediterranean character. Okay. Bearing in mind, we're talking to you about your security and relocating for your security. So we're taking this very seriously. Now, when they said that, did you believe them that they were taking it seriously?
They were very serious. I think the way they looked.
Okay. We're not talking about Cheveningen prison for your security. You know where Cheveningen prison is? You know what they meant by that? We're not talking about Cheveningen prison for your security?
But they were not taking me to prison.
They weren't taking it. And by the way, it's not so far from here. It's pretty nearby. So they were saying, we're not going to put you in prison for your security. We're not going to arrest you. We're not going to imprison you. So, and I take it you understood it at that point in time, right?
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about relocating you out of the country, and this is on instructions from the prosecutor. So not only are they saying we're worried, but they're getting instructions from the prosecutor. Now, when you heard that, were you still in fear for your, of these people? That they were going to arrest you or do something harmful to you? It's a yes or no.
When we continue the conversation, you will reach to a point where I stopped being worried.
Okay. Well, they keep talking though, because they seem to be not convinced that they've gotten the point across to you. Because if we go on to the next page, 0135 0052, on line 410, okay, towards the end it says, as I say, we need your full honesty. We can't have half-truths. Now, I haven't counted how many times they said honest, truth, and what have you, but doesn't this seem thus far into the interview that it's a recurring theme, that they think that you have been less than honest?
Yes, because I looked to be in fear.
Okay. So,
And I know the investigators could also see my worries.
okay, so let me make sure I get this straight. Mr. Witness, help me out here. There's this interview. They're looking at you. They see fear in your expression. And to sort of calm you down from your fear, they say, we need your full honesty and we can't have half-truths. Is that what you're trying to tell us? That that's what's going on at that moment?
As you've seen, they have spoken about this on several occasions of this interview.
I understand, but that's why...
And it's my thinking that this is done because of they are repeating this to me in order to make sure that I tell the truth and not to trick them.
Right, because if they wanted to calm you down, they would say, don't worry, trust us. We're the ICC investigators. They would be putting you at ease. Instead, they're telling us, tell us the truth. Does that sound like they thought that you had been truthful in the past? Yes or no?
Concerning this conversation, what I had done actually to the investigators, what I had done by leaving and going back home was not good. And that is why they wanted me now in this conversation to tell them the truth of what happened, how it happened, and everything that I knew concerning my departure, and now that I'm back.
Okay, and that's exactly what they wanted. Yes. So later on, when they say at line 425, I don't think there's any point in doing it, meaning the interview, if you're not prepared to be honest with me, okay? It's not about tricking you, but I need you to be completely honest with me. That's what they wanted.
Yes.
Because they thought that you had not been completely honest in the past.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, because I left.
And actually, because, okay, you left. And then you say, I will be honest with you. This is in line 427. Okay, take it in. Read it carefully. Tell me if I misread it.
You did read well.
Okay. I will be honest with you. Now the interview hasn't even started, but now you're giving assurances. You're giving assurances to these investigators, now that I've come back, now that I know that I'm a suspect, now that I know what you want, I will be honest with you, right?
Without the line that I know that I was a suspect.
You didn't know by that point you were a suspect? Okay, all right. We can move on. They go on 4:30. Okay, do you want to put some thought in as to whether or not you want a lawyer present? And you say, no, I don't think so. Now, the issue of the lawyer had come up previously. You had 11 days to think about a lawyer. So you just said no, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let's look at line 433. Okay, again, if at any stage throughout the interview you want to discontinue, it is not compulsory. It's completely up to you. So if you say, no, I've had enough, you're tricking me, you can leave. There's no obligation for you to stay at any stage throughout the interview. But I will warn you throughout the interview, at every step, that you don't have to stay, that you can leave if you like. And then later on, it ends with, so are you prepared to do that? Now, when they were saying these words, were you still in fear? Does these words sound like they're trying to threaten you? When they're saying you can leave at any time, you can stop the interview.
You can see how long it has gone before we
I'm asking you what you're thinking at this point in time. I'm not asking about what they're doing. It's very clear what they're doing. But I'm asking you, does this sound from you that they were threatening you to arrest you? That they were putting you in fear? When they're saying, there's the door, you can leave at any time. You can have a lawyer, you can talk to us, you can leave. Does that sound like they were threatening you?
Again, I did not say that they did harass me or do anything of that nature. I said I felt that I was in that situation.
And from their body language when they were saying these things?
So, it is not my testimony that the investigators actually did put me in fear or intimidated me or made me feel or actually did anything that was maybe by force. No, I'm saying out of my own feelings.
Okay.
Because of the treatment that I underwent internally, I felt that there was some difference on how they were handling me this time around. But you can see the investigators continuing even to give me more assurances that if I need to go home at any time, I can go. At this point, I started to calm down, knowing that there is no issue. I started to see that there is no issue of arrest and maybe
Okay,
things like that.
all right. I'm glad to hear that. So now you're calming down, because they further go on to say on line 442, sorry, on the other thing, if you do want to go, we're going to pay for your transport back. So it's not like if you don't cooperate with us, we're going to go, okay? So they're saying, we paid for you to come over here, we'll pay for you to go back. You don't want to talk to us? No harm, no foul, no problem, right? They're willing to pay for you to go back.
Yes.
Okay. And I take it that really calmed you down.
Yes, I started to calm down.
Well, you say you started. How long did it take for you to calm down? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
I started to calm down.
And then he says, the other interview says, we're not going to treat you bad. If you want to go, you can go, right?
Yes.
So at this point, you're pretty calm, right? You're
At that point, I started to calm down.
okay, you started to calm down. You knew you weren't going to be arrested at that point, right?
Yes.
Okay. You knew that you could terminate the interview at any point and that they would pay for you to go back.
Yes, they are working on that.
And so, right after that, they want to jump into the issue about how it was that you met Mr. Gicheru, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, in fact, that was part of the reason for you going there. You know, that's one of the reasons that they wanted to talk to you about, right?
Your Honour, may I ask my learned friend to give a reference to the question he's referring to? I don't recall that it was put to this witness that they asked him about Mr. Gicheru. I think they...
Well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
I'm just concerned that you're misleading the witness by putting something to him that wasn't said to him.
All right. Well, I take exception to the characterization of misleading. Far be it. I'm giving the witness an opportunity. It's a predicate. Now, he either remembers or he doesn't. And I have the file here, so if he doesn't remember, I'll go through it.
My Honor, every conversation that we had with the investigators was given to this court as statement. And I will request that the counsel will guide me through the documents as we go, so that I don't give any information contrary to what is in the statement. Because everything that we did on that day was recorded. It is there in form of recording and in form of a hard copy. Now, it's my request that when the counsel is referring to a document that is recorded and given to this court, that he gives me the way we have done on the other pages, line by line, so that there is I may not give other words, especially noting that I'm under oath to say the truth. If I say anything that may mislead what is really recorded and put here, it will be misleading to this case.
Thank you, Mr. Witness.
I'll be very mindful,
Yes.
Madam President. And I apologize, witness, if I gave you the impression that I'm trying to mislead you as suggested by Mr. Steinberg. To the contrary. If we look at, before we go into the issue of whether you were asked to tell all about who it was that introduced you to Mr. Gicheru, how you got involved in witness tampering, witness intimidation, and what have you. If we could look at document 01350054. What tab is that at? Do we know?
That is 31.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. So anyway, I just want to go through very quickly. If you could look at these pages, 01350057, 58, and 59, just kind of give them a quick glance. They again are informing you of your rights, and they're telling you that the interview can cease at any time. If you look at it, and then if you can confirm that, then we can move on.
Yes, there was confirmation.
here is where we may need to go into private session, because I'm going to,
Madam Court Officer, can we please go into private session?
and we could start by looking at document.
Just a moment,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry,
Canavas.
sorry,
We're
sorry,
not yet in
sorry,
private
sorry.
session.